Hi guys, and welcome to another Leadfeeder webinar. Just a quick note before we start today. With Livestorm, they've been experiencing some technical difficulties over the past hour or so, which we've been keeping a close eye on. If at any point during this webinar we drop out or the service crashes, there is a link which to a YouTube channel, which is Alex's YouTube channel, where we'll take it over there and run a live video there. We'll share the link now, and just make sure that you please save it somewhere so that if it does happen to go out the service, that you're able to just click on that, or that you have that link at hand. And I just posted it in there for you guys, and so did Dara. Perfect. Okay, so now you've got two versions of the link. So, but what we'll do is, as I said, if in the worst case scenario it does crash, we'll head over to YouTube, and then we'll take it over from there. But let's get started. So first and foremost, quick introduction. My name's Andy Culligan. I'm the CMO at Leadfeeder. Today we're having Alexandra Lowe on, who was one of our guests on our panel discussion last week. Alex is a professional services lead at DLA Ignite. He focuses on social media selling, so how to get the most out of your social selling strategies. Today he's going to be bringing us through some actionable insights in which you can do to your social selling strategy, a few tips that you can take away and things you can implement almost immediately. Before I hand things over to Alex, I just want to set the scene a little bit in terms of what we're seeing from a social selling perspective over the past year or so. I mean, I think this topic has been getting bigger and bigger over the past couple of years, but Forrester recently released a report late last year, which was talking about social selling, and saying that modern sellers create more than 45% more opportunities, and they're 51% more likely to achieve quota than those that aren't selling socially on LinkedIn. On top of that, like, why am I excited about the session today? Okay, so let's use a real world example. Yesterday, I would think of myself, and Alex is laughing here in the background because he'd been giving me some notes in the background as well over the past week. So as I mentioned, Alex was on a panel with us last week, and he gave one key takeaway where I was like, oh, I should probably do that, which was to change the description text in my LinkedIn profile and not have my title in there. So I went ahead and changed that. Okay, so why am I excited about this session? Because there's like actionable things that I can take away and things that I didn't know about. And I was, for one, thought I was pretty savvy from a social media perspective. Obviously not. But this was one thing that I took away from the session last week. So when I did that yesterday, I sent it out on LinkedIn saying, hey, I got this tip from Alex, and maybe come along to the webinar tomorrow to learn some more. I then, after sending a screenshot out of my profile, I was thinking maybe I should have a cover photo, but I haven't gotten around to updating it. And then somebody posted immediately, you need to get your cover photo. I was like, okay, well, yeah, of course. Which then led to me going into Google, into Google and creating my own version of a cover doc. So if you go, or a cover photo, if you go onto my LinkedIn profile, you'll see it's been a pretty makeshift. So this is the slide I used to create a screenshot of what I have on my now LinkedIn profile, which then turned to this, which, this is my LinkedIn profile now. So it's looking much cleaner than it did this time yesterday, or maybe this time 2 days ago. Then there was this afterwards. Tim, who's Alex's boss, wrote to me straight away and said, hey, by the way, the way you updated your description there, well, you didn't do it in such a great way. And I said, oh, there's always something, So another thing that I needed to go and change, which I wasn't aware of at all. So I then went and changed it, which led me to this, So now my LinkedIn profile, Alex will hopefully agree with me here, is in a much better position than it was 2 days ago. Alex, would you agree?
We're moving in the right direction.
And these are things, and I'm very active on LinkedIn. I post a number of times a week. My posts get pretty good interactions, but these were little tips that, I wasn't too savvy to. And I'm really looking forward to seeing what Alex is now going to deliver in this session to be able to take away and implement further for my social selling strategy. And with that, I'd like to leave you with Alex, who's going to start sharing his screen and deep dive directly into LinkedIn.
Indeed, I am. Screen 2, share, and let that just sort itself out. And then hopefully everybody can see that. It's stabilized and off we go. Excellent. Good afternoon, everybody. Thank you for dialing in. I am going to take you through quite a lot of information, well, not quite a lot of information over the next 40 minutes or so around some hints and tips that you can put in straight away. Social selling, the concept of social selling, this is not anything that's new. It's been around for the last kind of 5-6 years. And in simple terms, it's sales and marketing for the 21st century. It's how you use social media to engage with your audience in a view to start a business conversation. That's what we're trying to do. This isn't an and or debate either. This isn't about whether you should do cold calling or email marketing or social selling. This augments and supports your current pipeline activities and anything that you are already doing. Obviously, with everything that's happening in the world in COVID-19, your online and digital presence is going to be absolutely critical because it is your doorway. It is the first impression that you create online. And if we consider that when you do your research online, either prospects, potential hire, whatever social media platform you're on, could be you're going to hopefully meet somebody for the first time, you will find that person and then you will just jump to a conclusion. You'll make a snap decision about that person before you've even met them. Well, exactly the same thing is happening for you when someone lands on your LinkedIn profile. So we need to make sure that your LinkedIn profile reflects you, who you are, what you stand for as a person. We then need to look at how you can curate your network, how relevant your network is in terms of selling through, because we talk about selling through the network, not to the network. But you need an active network to sell through in the first place in order for that to work. And then the final piece is around content. So how do you leverage content in a meaningful way so you're not just broadcasting and you're elevating yourself above the noise? So first and foremost, we're going to focus on LinkedIn profile. So I'm going to come into my profile. I'm going to work through some things that you need to consider. So as Andy said, we need to ensure that you have an image up here. Think of your LinkedIn profile as your own personal website. And LinkedIn data shows that when you have imagery up here, you will get more click-through. For those of you working in corporates, I suggest going and talking to your marketing team and seeing what they've got in place. Some companies, they like to run, if they're running any paid campaigns, for example, or any campaigns for that matter, they'll have imagery that matches up here. For those of you who want to do your own thing, I recommend going to Canva because Canva actually has pre-built templates for varying banners across varying social media channels, and they have one specifically for LinkedIn. So, and you can do this for free on Canva as well. It's a great place to go. Then up-to-date corporate profile photo. If you are in business with your partner, then great. But if you're not, then I don't suggest we have their picture with you there. Then the headline, and this is where a lot of people have difficulty. But this was never actually meant to be your job title. It pulls through automatically. What we want here is for you to kind of introduce what it is that you do, how you can help your audience. And a way to think about this is talking to your clients, or if I were to pick up the phone to any of your clients, how would they describe to me what you do for them? Because even though there are 675 million people on LinkedIn, when someone lands on your LinkedIn profile, you are having a one-to-one conversation with that person, and you are talking to your next client, not your next job. And that's the thing here. LinkedIn is a great place to get a job, but it's actually the place to start business conversations. So we need to think about what is it that you actually do? Because if you have CMO, account executive, sales director, sales manager, anything like this, that's one of hundreds of thousands of job titles on LinkedIn, which can mean different things to different people. So really try to think about your headline that is going to drive some conversation, drive people to click through. Then your about section. This is not your CV. This is again talking to your audience. You can kind of play this in two ways. You can either have it as in, this is how I can help you, and this is what we can do for you, but not in a CV led. For the salespeople on the call, we don't want to know how good you are hitting quota. I don't care if you've hit President's Club, because all that kind of stuff, you're talking about yourself. And if someone sees all you care about is selling and making club and quota, they're not going to see you as a trusted advisor or the subject matter expert that can help them. It can be short, it can be long. If you do charity work, if you climb mountains, if you run marathons, if you're a parent, if you like baking cakes, any kind of thing in here that gives that kind of human connection, if you will, and more so than everything around where we are today, because other people will meet you online and go, oh, you've run a marathon, I'm thinking of running a marathon, or I like climbing mountains, or I like baking cakes, or I'm a parent, how different, and all this kind of stuff. We then want a call to action, ideally. So to find out more, connect with me. Let's have a conversation. Invite people into your network to find out more. Then the featured section. This is relatively new to LinkedIn in 2020. They started to roll it out in February, and now everyone has this. This is a great place to promote your content. LinkedIn gives it huge amounts of real estate when you land on someone's profile. So what do I mean by that? If I go to someone's profile, so if I look at Victoria's profile, I hope she won't mind, we can see here when you're looking at not in edit mode, he says, with LinkedIn trying to work through that. Don't let me down, internet. You can then see that there is, not going to allow me to do it. Oh, here we go. That actually this promotes a lot of real estate on your profile. So it's a great piece to have. You can put reports, you can put links to videos, podcasts, any campaigns you're running. A great place to push things through. So I highly recommend that if you haven't got this added in your section, make sure that you are adding it. If I go back to my profile, I'll let that kind of pull through. And then what you also need to consider as we move down to the experience section. Your experience section, this is the what I do and how I can help you. Again, from a sales perspective, I don't want to see that you're all about selling, selling, selling. This is around how can I help you? So actually what I do is I ask questions. You don't necessarily have to copy what I do, but it's asking questions around the sort of things that people might be asking themselves. But actually, what it also you can do, you can look at Google Trends. So Google Trends is free, and what Google Trends does is tell you what people are searching. So you can type in any kind of search topic here that you would that you'd want. So I might choose social selling as a search term, and then Google will tell you how that is faring, or how that is being searched from a score of 0 to 100. 100 being lots of people are searching for it, 0 being lots of people are not searching for it. And we can see here, unsurprisingly, a bit of a dip. This is going to be around where COVID-19 started, down, and now we're back up on a big uptick, on a spike. So that means that people are searching social selling on LinkedIn. But you can then compare that maybe with digital selling as a search term. So you can use this for your own industries, use this from your own things. So we can see that social selling is getting more traction than digital selling. So I need to make sure that social selling is part of what I talk about. So Google Trends, really useful tactic to build this all through here. You can then add links to your profile and so on and so forth. Now, when you're editing your experience section, what you want to make sure you're doing before you do anything else is turn this off. So switch share with network off. Because if you leave that turned on, even if you change a single character on your experience section, that will broadcast to your network that looks like you got a job promotion or a job change. which if you've got a job promotion or a job change, great. But if you don't, then you don't want to kind of tell the network you're just updating your profile. So make sure that that is switched to off. Then you can make as many edits as you like within the profile, and you're not going to broadcast to the network that you're just updating your profile. Make sure you're filling your profile out as rich as possible. All of this is searchable, so keyword searching, etc., is all critical. Education, make sure you've got your education in here. This helps LinkedIn position you, going, you went to this school, college, university between these dates, so did this person. You may want to connect with them. I use this as a way to reach out to people. Hi, I know we don't know each other, but we both studied at the same university. Do you remember X, Y, Z? Let's connect. If you have any licenses, certification, any training accreditation that you've got, make sure you're adding that here. Other people who have been on the same training will be able to see that and go, I've done that training. Have you done that training? How did you find it? Can be a good conversation starter. Skills and endorsements. Again, this is the back end of LinkedIn, kind of the CRM aspect of it, all searchable. So make sure you've got all the relevant skills from a technical perspective, from a selling perspective, marketing perspective, industry perspective. You can have up to 1,000 skills on your profile. Add these all in because it just helps position you. It helps searching through everything that you're doing. And then the other thing to consider is recommendations. So recommendations are like the Amazon TripAdvisor 4-star rating. And what can be more powerful than having your existing clients write a recommendation on your LinkedIn profile about what a great job you've done as a team, as an individual, that you'd highly recommend them. You can then start to use your LinkedIn profile as a quasi pitch CV, if you will. Please feel free to refer to the bottom of my LinkedIn profile where we've got a list of previous existing happy clients. I would caveat that you need to be connected to the person to ask for a recommendation. Don't ask for recommendations from your peers or your colleagues, because that looks like you're looking for a new role. Ideally, it needs to be from your client base. I would always typically phone them or email them first after a project and say, this is what I'd like to do. Would you be comfortable in doing it? Because some people themselves aren't necessarily comfortable about writing a public recommendation on someone's profile. Depending on your sales cycles, depending on how long they are, for a year, maybe once a quarter. That's all we're talking about. The other thing that we need to think about is personalizing your URL. So you'll notice that I haven't got any numbers at the top of my my LinkedIn profile. If you haven't personalized your URL, when you're looking up here, it'll be first name hyphen surname hyphen a series of random numbers. Again, we want to clean this up, and it can help from an SEO perspective if you can get just your name. So the way that you would do this is you click here, edit public profile and URL. This then comes through to your public profile settings. So this is how visible you are outside of LinkedIn. Now, from my perspective, I want to be as searchable as possible. I want to be found everywhere. So I am fully public. I share everything, but you are in control of this. But ultimately, here is the pencil where you'd edit your URL. We tab all the way to the cross. If you can get just your name, first name hyphen surname or first name surname, brilliant. If you can't, if you're in the SaaS play, maybe you have SAS, SaaS after it, or technology, or legal, or you have the last 2 digits of your birth year, 78 in my case, or you can flip it, so I can have Low Alexander. But ideally, what we want is your URLs to be personalized. The other thing that we also need to consider is that when people land on your LinkedIn profile, for most people, they're going to be showing other people's names next to it. So Andy, I'm going to pick on you and see whether how yours is set up. And come on LinkedIn, work with me. So Andy's personalized his URL. Come on. How
much is that hyphen in there hurting me there, Alex? Do you reckon?
Not massively. If I could have, I would have kept the hyphen if I could have done, but I couldn't because there's another on the low. But what we see here on Andy's profile is lots of other people, some of which are nothing to do with Leadfeeder. And what does social media do to us? We get, oh, you know, shiny new profile. I click across and then I leave Andy's profile. Now, I don't want that to happen. I want to make sure that when somebody lands on Andy's profile, they stay on Andy's profile and are not being taken to maybe a competitor or someone else. So really easy to turn this off. You click on Me, you click on Settings and Privacy, and then and I must just throw out, this is courtesy of Andy Foote, who brought this to my attention. Viewers of this profile also viewed. If you click on that, you then toggle that to no. So when this is then toggled to no, when someone lands on your LinkedIn profile, they will not be encouraged to look at other LinkedIn profiles down the side. So they're just staying on your profile because that's what we want. We don't want them to leave your profile and go to someone else. So that's a quick canter through your LinkedIn profiles. Next thing we're going to look at is trying to work out your potential audience of influence. And I use the word influence carefully because we'll come on to this in a minute, but the LinkedIn algorithm, it is there. It does play a massive part in terms of where you sit, who sees you and who you see, but we need to understand kind of what the state of your network is. So the way you can work out how powerful your network is or isn't is by looking at your connections. So I'm going to choose a job title at random. Let's carry on picking on Andy. So I'm going to use Chief Marketing Officer. So I type in Chief Marketing Officer, and I want Chief Marketing Officer in people. Use whatever job title you would market to, sell to, doesn't matter. I click on people. And then we can see on LinkedIn, 1.2 million plus CMOs on LinkedIn. That's obviously a hell of a lot. So let's start to narrow this down. And caveat, you can do this with free LinkedIn. This isn't premium. You can do this with LinkedIn that's free. So I click on all filters. And then I'm interested in my second degree network, because that means I know someone who can influence or introduce me to that person. And then I might choose, and let's go to Greater New York. Why not? And you could choose an industry. So I don't know. Let's choose media production. I have no idea if this is going to work. We'll see what happens. So what I'm looking at is how many people in my secondary network, the CMOs in the Greater New York area, who tag themselves as being in the media production industry. I then click apply, and hey presto, 12. So I can be introduced to 12 people within my network who are based in New York, who are CMOs of some sort. So what this then means is, if I were to share a piece of content saying, if you're a CMO in XYZ, you should read this, I can influence up to 12 people in New York within my network, because my first degree network will engage with that. If I just want to take that a little bit broader, go to all filters, let's just take out the Greater New York area, and we click apply. So within the media space, we can then look at 200 plus people. So if I shared a piece of content saying, if you're on media production and a CMO, you should read this, then what this means is, theoretically, if my first degree network engage with that content, I can influence up to 200 people who don't necessarily know me. So it's a way to work out, well, where is my network? How powerful is this? How can I sell through this? Other note, if people have got the gold logo next to their name, then they're paying for LinkedIn, which means they're more likely to engage with LinkedIn than not. But let's click on Stella's profile. Then let's say I want to connect with Stella. My privacy settings are set so that she will know that I've looked at my profile. I could ask for an introduction through my own personal network. This is why it's also critical for the large organizations on the call, connect internally. The more connected internally you become, the more powerful your network of opportunities. You can get that referral. I might send her a connection request. Make sure you personalize it. But what you can also do on LinkedIn is I can follow. So this is a nice, gentle way to kind of introduce yourself to whomever, provided your LinkedIn profile represents who you are and what you do. So I'm going to click follow. Seller will now get a notification up here that I've done that. And then I do have LinkedIn Premium. So what I can then do is that if I come back into my my network, and of course you do need LinkedIn Premium to be able to do this, is that I then keep an eye on who viewed my profile. And if in the next 24 hours, Stella has looked at my profile, I then know that she has seen the signal that I've followed her. That's also a great way to then start seeing her content and so on. So I highly recommend doing that, going and finding people to follow. Follow the chief execs of your top clients. Follow the chief execs of your prospects. Go and find all the leadership and just follow them on LinkedIn and start to bring yourself into their field of view. So as I said, in the search bar, search for people, start playing around with different job titles, second degree, and then start to work out, actually, you're probably a lot closer to your target audience than you realize. And that's either through an introduction or it's then through how you can start to leverage and share your content into the right space. Because we talk about fishing where the fish are. So you should understand what your ideal fish is, or your ideal customer profile, if you will. So you then need to go and find the ponds or the oceans or the seas, but the ponds where those fish are. And that's then how you can start to use content to do this. So if we then move on to content, this is where it all comes to life. This is where it will make or break you in terms of whether this is going to be successful, because your passive social presence is your LinkedIn profile, i.e. people just passively bumping into you. Your network is your network, but we need to make sure that your network is curated and relevant to the audience you want to sell through or market through. But then we need to start to get this to work, because any social media platform's existence is to keep engagement. Why do they want engagement? Because they want eyeballs. Why do they want eyeballs? Because they want to sell advertising space. So how do you keep eyeballs? Then, well, it's through interesting, engaging content. So LinkedIn is no different. So the way that the algorithm works, this is the same for anybody who manages a corporate page versus your own personal page. LinkedIn surfaces content into your news feeds as well as your network's news feeds based on the behavior, based on your liking, your commenting, how you use hashtags, how you move around however you move around the platform. So we need to start to get this to work in your favor. And I use the word loosely, but you can, to a certain extent, train your newsfeed to work. So how do you start doing this? Any post on LinkedIn has 3 dots. So within these 3 dots, this is then where you can start to tell the system what you are or are not interested in. So I'm just going to pick Gilly's post here at random. Let's say that I didn't want to see any more of Gilly's content because it was annoying or boring, or I didn't find it appropriate or relevant. Well, I can just unfollow. What this is then telling LinkedIn, I want to remain connected with Gilly, but I'm going to unfollow it because I just don't want to see her content. So start telling the system what you do and don't want to see. The next thing you can do is there's this thing here called Improve My Feed. So if you click on Improve My Feed, well, guess what it does? It helps you start to improve your feed based on the types of content and hashtags that you should be following. So mine is actually pretty good based on the engagement, what I do, what I'm talking about. If you're doing this now and you're looking at that going, well, that's not that relevant. Well, if you're not giving the system anything to go on, then it's having to kind of guess what it is that you should be surfacing. And what we need to think about is you've got to focus religiously on your audience. It's the content for your audience as much as the content that is of interest for you. Because what you want to do is bring people to your newsfeed, or bring people to you, gravitate towards you. So we're getting to the point of, I saw that, I read that, you seem like a really interesting person. I want to connect with you. I want to follow you on LinkedIn because you're sharing interesting, insightful content into your newsfeed. You're engaging in interesting conversations. Let's have a conversation, or I want to follow you. So start playing around with this and start to find out what you should be and who you should be following. First and foremost, any of your key clients, any clients that you work with, go and find their corporate pages on LinkedIn. So I will choose Goldman Sachs at random. It doesn't really matter. So I then click on the Goldman Sachs corporate page. I would then follow the Goldman Sachs corporate page, click follow, and then that will start to surface some of their content into my newsfeed. If the internet decides to play ball, it does. So I can then start to like and engage. I can see what Goldman Sachs are talking about, maybe reference that within a conversation. But also, this is a great way to move yourself around companies, because if I click on the 84, you can then start to see who else is engaged with this content. So straight out the box, Chief of Staff, Goldman, Co-Head Equity Capital Markets, Corporate Broking, Goldman. These people, third, quite a long way out of my network, legal counsel, someone at Citi, a Goldman person. So what I would then do if I'm maybe pitching to Goldman Sachs, or I want to work with Goldman Sachs, or whatever it is, I just like that, the 84 other people will get that notification that I've done something. So I've now had a potential 84 to 1 return in meetings. So not going to guarantee they're going to look at your profile, not going to guarantee that they're going to do anything. But just by doing that single like, you're going to start to move yourself around their news feeds. But more importantly, this then triggers to your news feed that you've done it, and then people will see it and find it interesting. So you're getting that kind of that three-way hit. So find your corporate clients, find the clients you want to prospect and get to know, start to have a play around, start to see who else is engaging with the content. The other thing that we look at, of course, is hashtags. So hashtags, in simple terms, is a label. This is about pizza. This is about cats. This is about social selling, oil and gas. So you can see that I follow a number of hashtags through here. But let's take, let's say you market to, I don't know, let's just choose oil and gas, the oil and gas sector. So I choose oil and gas. I would then follow the oil gas sector, come on internet, work with me. So oil and gas has got 3.7 million followers on it. So if you market to the oil and gas sector, you'd want to follow this, because then this is when you can start to see what people are talking about within the oil and gas sector. You can scroll through, keep an eye on stuff. And again, you also then start to see content which would never ever appear in your newsfeed, because Brent, third plus, long way from where I am, a long way from my network. So normally never ever see his stuff. But then you can start to engage with these people. So let's say that I wanted to start to market to Gail. I can just like that post. And again, I've now had a meeting, if you will, with Gail. So start to use hashtags as a way to find that interesting content and insight. But then what you also want to be doing is, whenever you're posting on LinkedIn, you need to use the hashtags that are relevant. So back to fish where the fish are in the ponds, you need to use the hashtags that are relevant to where you want your content to land in the news feeds that you want it to be in. Now, again, it doesn't guarantee that you're going to get the eyeballs that you want, but at least it gives you a better fighting chance by moving yourself into not only your own news feed, but also other news feeds that people are following. And the other thing about hashtags, if you put a hashtag into LinkedIn, into anywhere, to Google, sorry, then wherever that hashtag is mentioned, you'll be found. So from here, I've made sure I've added hashtag social selling, modern selling, and digital selling for this exact webinar, because I want to pull it into these 3 news feeds. So I'm basically getting a 3-to-1 return on my post for pushing this into those news feeds. LinkedIn recommends that 3 hashtags is the optimum number of hashtags. It's trying to stop users going down the Instagram or Facebook route where you just stack your posts with loads and loads of hashtags. There is some view from experts out there that if you do that, you actually hurt your engagement, and LinkedIn will suppress those over those posts that have the optimum that it says, the number that you want. So every time you are originating a post, then make sure that you are adding those 3 hashtags for the audience that you want to see. Think about your audience, where you want to go. The other thing you can also do, you remember that I mentioned the featured section earlier. Well, you can feature your posts that you put on LinkedIn onto your featured section. So I could have featured this and promoted this post at the start of this, say the start of this week, had that, put the post on LinkedIn, and then promote it to the featured section on my profile, so that it is there for when people land on my LinkedIn profile. So a great little trick to do. The other thing that you can do in terms of kind of finding content that is of interest to you, so you've got the hashtags, you have the varying news feeds that you can drive through, is that let's say that you want to see what is going on in the world. Come on, LinkedIn, go back to the top. So here, LinkedIn has its own newsroom. LinkedIn has its own news kind of editors of this, and this is where they are promoting what is going on. So let's say that I don't know, we're going to try and film screen virus. Let's say you work in aviation. So they're promoting this conversation around, is this the end of cheap flights? And then what they do is they start to pull out people like you and me, their posts, and promote this. So let's say you wanted to get in touch with Andy. I can now like this, and now Andy knows who I am if I want to sell to operations in Dubai Airport. What this also means, if you start to create your own content with some context behind it, this is an interesting article on XYZ, what can happen is that the LinkedIn editorial team may well pick this conversation up. If you are talking about, this, you can see they're all talking about the same conversation, albeit it's coming from different kind of posts. They may promote this into this newsfeed. One of our colleagues did this recently around before COVID-19 flight shaming, just shared a piece from the BBC, put some commentary to it, and the LinkedIn editorial team picked it up, promoted it here, and he got 250,000 views on that post. So it's worth keeping an eye on this, just to see kind of latest topics of conversation and so on. If you want to, you can also actually follow the LinkedIn editorial page. So if you go to the LinkedIn Editors Showcase page, you can follow this. This is where all of the news sites are curated. So follow this page, get a sense of what's going on. Of course, you can then you can engage with this, and then the people that run the LinkedIn Editors page will then start to see you. It's worth doing that. The other thing that you can also do is you can start to find content in other ways on LinkedIn. So let's say that I wanted to see who was talking about, let's say, digital marketing. So I'm going to type in digital marketing. Again, it can be whatever it is that you want. I'm then just going to click search. And what I want is the content button. So I click on content, and what this then brings through is where digital marketing is being mentioned on on LinkedIn. So you can then start to play around this and see what's happening. So straight away, this is pulled through this post from Javier, who's a partner MD at Bain Consulting. My target audience in terms of kind of what we do and where I focus on professional services. So again, I'd never ever see Javier's posts unless it's sort of pure dumb luck that that's come through. So I'm gonna like it. Same principle. I've done my little bit of prospecting and had a conversation with Javier. So use the content search filter to start to find out what the competition are talking about, what your own company is talking about. And again, anything that you can think about within this content search, you can play around with these filters and so on and so forth. It's a really helpful way to find what's being talked about on LinkedIn. Not many people use that. The other thing that we need to consider, and then I'll throw it open to Q&A, Andy. Now, you do need LinkedIn Premium to be able to do this, because it's obviously all very well sharing content and liking and commenting and engaging with things. And just on that note, LinkedIn, the biggest reward you get from LinkedIn is liking and commenting. It's a social network, so the social aspect is where you will get the biggest reward. But with Premium, of course, you get some kind of sense of data and data analytics. And so I need to make sure that the content that I am sharing is landing in the right place. So let's go down and find a post that I have created or done. Where are we? That's been mentioned in commented. Oh, comment on this. Here we go. So let's choose this one. So let's see if I've got enough. Has been around, so 547 views. Okay, that's fine. It is what it is. 547, 1,000, 2,000. But what I can see here is that this is primarily landing, within my market space of where I want to be. If the people where this is moving is not relevant to me whatsoever, then my content isn't working. So there's no point getting excited about, hey, I'm getting loads of engagement or loads of likes and views on LinkedIn if it's the wrong organizations that are looking at your posts. If it is the wrong organizations, you can start to do something about it. The same applies, of course, with your profile views. If the wrong type of people are looking at your profile views, or your profile, then we need to do something about it in terms of working through. So, but of course, you do need LinkedIn Premium to be able to access that type of information. But I feel I have probably spoken for enough, so I will pause there and throw the floor open to any questions that people may have.
Thanks, Alex. That was really great. I was frantically taking some notes here, and thankfully there's going to be a recording of this as well. A number of people were asking throughout the session if there will be a recording. Yes, there will be a recording sent directly after this. Guys, we go to a Q&A now. So any questions that you have specifically for Alex, I guess, or any questions you have for me, I'd be more than happy to answer. But Alex is the expert here when it comes to social selling. There's a questions tab here. We've already had a number of questions come in. Please upvote whatever questions you want to be answered first. And then on top of that, please ask any questions in here as well. So we'll start with the top voted question, Alex, just to begin with. How long would you wait after or wait a sec? Somebody's just after beating it to the top, but I'll ask you that one first. How long would you wait after the connection for giving the sales pitch?
Don't pitch on LinkedIn. Full stop. I know that sounds, especially at the moment, especially in the current climate. What you want to be doing is offering help. Is there anybody in my network that would be of interest to you that I can introduce you to? Is there anything at all I can help you with? Don't sell your product. If it's a free hour of your time to talk through things, if it's connecting with someone in terms of whatever it might be. But the worst thing that is happening on LinkedIn at the moment, and this is before COVID-19 as well, you connect, and I can always see it coming a mile off, that you then move into that sales pitch straight off the bat, and then from my perspective, I usually just ignore them. What you want to be doing is, if your profile is full of relevant content, which explains what you do, and you're engaging in conversation with interesting stuff, the pitch is kind of already happening. So that's my approach. Do not pitch through through LinkedIn is my honest opinion and advice.
Yeah, I agree there. I think in that case, I think no pitch is the strongest pitch of all in that case. And I think just by the content and how you're interacting generally on LinkedIn is giving a better impression to people, to be honest.
Indeed.
Okay, next question is from Miza. What's your take on emojis and messages, posts and profiles? Should they be avoided or can they be used in moderation? I can start, by the way, Miza, with the profile, by the way. Yeah. I got stung on this yesterday. That's what Timothy, that's what Tim had wrote to me yesterday, that in the description don't have emojis there, but I'll let Alex answer the rest.
So yeah, emojis are no in your profile. I mean, LinkedIn's not Facebook. Let's be clear there. But depending on my audience and who it is, I sometimes reply with an emoji or a thumbs up or for a bit of fun, because for speed more so than purposes, and it just all LinkedIn sees is just engagement. It sees that something's happened on that post. Your audience. My advice wouldn't be go all out on emojis. Just kind of blend it in the conversations. GIFs rather, in messaging. You can use GIFs in messaging in one-to-one, which is kind of fun. Again, with people that I know is a bit of fun. And LinkedIn at the moment, I think we will see this phase out, it is kind of the Facebook police would be having a kind of a meltdown kind of stuff that has been shared on LinkedIn. But I think people are using it as a bit of outlet just to kind of, we're in a strange place. So I think emojis are fine, not on your profile, but just in moderation.
Perfect. Thanks, Alex. Okay. I see there's a number of other questions that are coming into the chat, guys. Just if you want to put any questions across over to the questions tab, that's where we'll be looking mostly.
Louis on inflammatory content, report, block, absolutely. You can do that. Reporting, am I still sharing my screen? Yeah, so reporting is super easy. You click on the buttons and click report. LinkedIn do actually deal with it pretty quickly. Emojis.
There's another one here, Alex. So if we look at the top voted ones, the ones that have the most amount of votes in them, we'll probably start there. It's probably best. Yeah. Hi, Alex. I usually send personalized LinkedIn invites to my prospects, but the acceptance ratio is roughly 1 to 10. I guess probably my profile needs some working. But is there an industry standard or a benchmark to the acceptance rate?
No, it's a bit like open rates on email. It comes down to, if you put into practice everything I've talked about, and I appreciate that's a hell of a lot, what will happen is people will want to come to you and want to connect with you. But if you also do if there's context to why you want to connect with this person. So if you're sending a sales pitch in your connection request, then at Kel Surprise, you're getting a low connection rate. If you're adding some value, if you are, just be great to connect and build out my network, I might be able to help you one day. I found that interesting. Maybe ask the people that do connect, why did you connect with me, to get some feedback on that. But in an ideal world, when you're positioning yourself and engaging with content and people can see you're connected to other meaningful people, you should be getting close to, I've been doing this for years, close to 100% connection rate, but I use it strategically and I make sure I always personalize what I'm doing. But it will probably change industry to industry as well. But yeah, work on your profile, see what you can do, and then feel free to connect with me. I'm happy to, if you want to connect with me, we can see where you're at in a couple of weeks' time.
Okay, next one. If I start a conversation in LinkedIn, is it smart to be controversial to generate more responses, or do you see that as a negative move?
So behave on LinkedIn as you would do in a business meeting or in a face-to-face corporate situation. So by all means, you can be controversial if you mean by disagreeing with someone. I got into a massive debate 12 months ago with somebody who basically said that law firms shouldn't be on LinkedIn, and huge debate. And what I said to him, I would say in a face-to-face situation. I stand by what I say on LinkedIn. I stand as I say in a face-to-face situation. And actually, it generated 3 pieces of business for me, because people saw the conversation and said, I agree with you, Alex, not this individual. Can we have a conversation? So if you wouldn't want it on the front page of a newspaper, don't say it. It's kind of a simple thing to do.
Yeah, I agree there. I think from being pretty active on LinkedIn as well myself, I think like you need to be professional, and you like if you're going into leaving a message or posting something that's like you're just being controversial to get more out of it, then I think you're probably doing the wrong thing.
Yeah.
If it's controversial, and it makes sense, and it's something that you fully stand behind and you believe in, then I would suggest, yeah, go for it. But don't be just being controversial to be controversial. It's never going to work out well.
Right. So Matt, hi Matt. In terms of the corporate image, at the end of the day, the employee owns the profile. So you can't actually make them do anything other than obviously they're adhering to your social media policy and guidelines, which is don't bring, just be professional. It's kind of horses for courses, really. Large organizations tend to be pretty relaxed around this. Small organizations like to try and keep some brand consistency. But at the end of the day, you can't actually make the individual put what they want on their profile. So there is no right answer to that. It's whatever you or the organization is ultimately comfortable with doing.
Yeah, I agree there. Like it's a difficult one because again, it's somebody's personal space. They own it, not the company. Yeah.
What do you got?
Next one's from Derek. Hi, Alex. Similarly, the about section should be phrased as "How can I help you?" or "How can my company help you?" Do you agree with that?
Again, it can be a blend. Some people take more of the personalized, the personal section, the personalized approach in terms of me. Some people take more of the organization. Some have short, some have long. I was working with a client earlier this week, and it transpired that he was a detective in his former life. And most of his colleagues didn't know he was a detective in his former life. So he's actually talked around being a detective, moving into what I do now, and it gives something to hang on. The about section is probably that, and the headline is one of the hardest things when working with clients that people find to work through. So don't kind of worry that it is difficult, really, really difficult. My advice would be write something, get a colleague or a peer to look at it, even a spouse or a partner, somebody who knows you, because what we want to do, I want to meet you. I want a bit of your personality that comes through. So, maybe you can try a blend of both, because if you work for a massive organization, then it's obviously maybe more you. If it's your own company or a small organization, it could be a blend of the you and the we.
Okay. What are the best practices to introduce yourself to a new contact you really want to get their attention?
Well, the way that you can do that is just by sharing content on the content you share on LinkedIn. If the content you are sharing is interesting, insightful, a little bit different. I mean, for those of you who may have seen I do my hashtag Ask Alex videos every Friday. And I've been on a 2.5-year journey with that. But I push the boundaries in a professional context on some of that stuff. But it could be an image that you share. It all comes down to the content. It comes down to your profile. How does your profile stand out from everybody else? Are you just another salesperson trying to sell me something? Are you selling interesting, insightful content? Don't try and be clever with the routes in, which sometimes I'm seeing this on email when people look like you've responded to something, or they position a message in terms of you're already in conversation, because that's just annoying, especially in the current climate. But my advice would be, it's around the content that you're sharing and engaging with will make you stand out, will get the attention, and they will come to you and want to connect with you directly rather than you wanting to connect with them.
I've got a personal question here on that, Alex, as well from my side, just to further back this one up. Just in terms of, because I get a ton of cold outreach requests, connection requests, typically SDRs or salespeople looking to sell me something. And I very, very rarely accept. Is there a cadence that you can do in the lead up to maybe sending a connection request, like liking some of my content beforehand, or maybe commenting on some of my posts?
There we go. You've hit the nail on the head, Andy. Absolutely that. Engage in conversation. Go and find them, follow them on LinkedIn first, look at their profile. Some people, if they have been posting content, it will show you what they've been posting. do a bit of have a comment saying this is really interesting. By the way, here's some research which supports this. Here's a link to a webinar we're hosting. We'd love to invite you. All that kind of that kind of stuff. Because if you just get that cold outreach, you're right. You're just like, okay, another person is selling. Whereas someone actually puts a bit of, and this, selling is not easy. Doing this 20 years ago, none of this existed. Sales are still sales, right? You've got to put some effort into this. There's got, and especially now, whatever the new normal is, the ones that stand out today, that have gone out of their way to be helpful, insightful, not selling, not pushing, you will be remembered when we come back into whatever the hell the new normal is, versus those that are just trying to sell, pitch.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Quick response to Derek Dirks. Yes, I do. Get to Sales Navigator. It's the best lead generation tool on the market by a country mile, if you know how to use it. I've got loads of YouTube videos which show you how. Maybe, Andy, we could do a seminar on Sales Navigator specifically, up to you and your audience.
Okay. So what's the best way for asking for introductions or referrals?
Again, just be kind of human about it. So go, if you're within your own corporate network or your own organization, pick up the phone, send them an email, screen grab the shot of the person you want to be introduced to, and say, look, I can see you're connected to this person. How well do you know them? This is what I'd like to do. Would you be comfortable in making the introduction? No worries if not. Because, of course, there are people on our network we've connected with, you can't remember how, what, why, when, where. So always give them an out. Give them the opportunity to say, a bit embarrassing, I met them at a cocktail party, I have no idea who they are. Same rules apply if it's within your own network. You will know who you can ask, and same, polite approach. I can see you're connected to this person. How well do you know them? This is what I'm trying to do and why. Here's a drafted introduction I've done for you. Would this be okay to send through?
Makes sense. There's one other question here. If I have a company page and a personal profile, should I post content on the company page and then share it on my personal profile, or the other way around? What way works best? So
corporate profiles are important, but you can probably depending on how many followers you've got, you can probably halve that number to who's actually seeing your content, because we've talked about the algorithm. So if they're not liking and commenting on the corporate content, then it's being removed out their newsfeed. So you can post it on the corporate page and then reshare it on your LinkedIn page. You can share it on your LinkedIn page and reshare it on your corporate page. At the end of the day, you're moving it into different audiences, but you are more than likely to get more engagement through your personal page, because we have a conversation with human beings, versus the corporate page, which is more of a kind of stream of conversation.
Okay. We have time for a couple more. What about sharing ebooks or gated content through direct message that you consider is relevant for the person?
I have a real problem with gated content. I think it's a waste of time. I think all content should be out there, should be free, as it were. Absolutely, if it's going to add value. But if I receive something and I think, okay, and then I have to give my email address, I'm not going to bother doing it. If I don't know, I'm not going to bother doing it. So you're far better to just say, give the keys to the kingdom, in terms of, look, here's a video, here's something from an ebook. You might find it useful. No need to, download, because if people go, okay, this, and assuming the content is helpful, then absolutely. But then my advice would be, just share that onto your LinkedIn profile. Put it on your featured section. Don't gate it. Allow people to download it, because those of you that are having content that's not gated versus those that are, the people are going to gravitate to the people that make it easy, versus, oh God, I've got to fill this out, I can't be bothered, because I know I'm going to get spammed.
I've tested something before on this, whereby I wrote an ebook a couple of months back, and I posted out to my LinkedIn network saying, hey, I wrote an ebook about this specific topic. It was about turning marketing to revenue focused teams. And I said, if you want a copy of it, just leave a comment. And the post actually went crazy viral. But it meant, though, that I was sending bloody messages all day long. But at the same time, though, it did get it. It was probably the most interaction I've gotten out of any post ever.
Yeah, that's gaming. I mean, we see that when people are asking ridiculous questions about what cover they should use for their next book. They're gaming the system. But then you've already then found out that then it's a nightmare, because you then got to go through individually to then go. And then if you don't actually send them the ebook, that is more damaging, because you said you're going to do something and then you're not doing it.
Yeah, I agree. But I did send it to everybody. That's the but it did. It took me nearly a whole day to do it.
Well, there we go.
So we've got time for one or two more. Would you use video in a post or in a post or direct mail, or sorry, a direct message to clients or prospects? So video. What's your view on video?
Video can be really powerful for social media, but you don't just do video for video's sake. If you're going to do video, then make sure you're using either Wave or Veed to make it kind of social friendly. Veed, you can put in the kind of the progress bars, all this kind of stuff. If you're doing how-to videos, make sure you use subtitles. 70% plus videos are watched on mute. So Subtitle or rev.com is another good one. You have to pay for it, but it's another good one to do. I get huge engagement from the video that I do, but I've been doing it for a while. I see some people say they use video as a way to pitch and have great success for it, but it all comes full circle to actually the quality of the video, what the video is actually saying. Is it helpful? If it's not done very well, if it's edited poorly, and then it just presents you in a bad light. And video is really raw, as I found out. It is really really raw. So I wouldn't want all of you going out there and starting doing video, because it might be damaging. But maybe have a play around with it. But video, podcasts, long form, short form posts, infographics. You need to understand your audience will want to consume different types of content. So don't just kind of focus on one. You actually want to try and take a blended approach if you are able to.
Yeah, I agree with that. I think I've seen some awful video content as of late because everybody thinks this is the way to go.
Yeah.
I don't necessarily think so. I think a couple of people have said it, and it's been in social media trends type of thing. But if the content's not good, it's not going to be good. Yeah, exactly. But look, guys, we're at the 1 hour mark now, and I'm sorry we need to jump off. But guys, I know there's a couple more questions. What I would suggest is to reach out to Alex or myself directly on LinkedIn. You've got Alex or myself's details there. Please do reach out. More than happy to answer any further questions that you might have. And guys, from Leadfeeder's perspective, we'll be pushing out another webinar next week. It's going to be in the form of a panel. You'll get some more information per mail on that over the coming days. Thank you so much for spending the time and spending the hour with us, guys. Big thank you to Alex from DLA Ignite. Thank you to Tim as well. He's been very active in the comments as well. Thank you for that, Timothy. And guys, again, thank you to everybody that attended. It was really, really interesting, and I've got a number of key takeaways that I can start implementing almost immediately.
My pleasure. Thank you, everybody, and good luck.
Thanks, Alex. Bye.